The Las Vegas Raiders are making a very serious commitment and following through on the promise that Tom Brady made to a bunch of the coaching candidates that went through there. And I can give you my own background on this, going back to really the beginning of the coaching carousel. And this relates back to a coach that they didn't get. That's Ben Johnson. When Johnson and his camp planned things out, going back to November and December, they didn't want to go through a full tour of interviews. So the whole idea for them was assess the openings and then decide which job we could legitimately see ourselves taking. And so there were a number of jobs that they decided they wouldn't see themselves taking. And so they communicated to those teams quietly, don't even bother putting a request in. We don't want to embarrass you. We don't want to look like jerks. So please just, we'll respectfully decline here. We won't have to do anything officially where we're saying no to you, and everybody will go on their merry way. Well, the Raiders were one of those teams, and despite all of that, the Raiders still put a request in. Johnson's camp wasn't happy about it. They wind up calling the Raiders, and the Raiders basically said, we're going to get you on the phone with Tom Brady. So Tom Brady calls Ben Johnson's camp, and he basically makes the promise to them. With some of these new minority owners we have coming in, with my business partner Tom Wagner, with Mike Meldman, who's one of the founders of a big real estate company, and this is the big one, Egan Durbin, the CEO of Silver Lake Capital. We're going to be able to create resources that other people who've been through this building in the past have not had. Brady more or less promised to them, we're going to do what it takes to make this a first-class operation. We already have a first-class practice facility. We have a first-class stadium. We have a first-class brand. The Raiders are an iconic brand. And Brady promised, I'm not going to put my name on something that's going to be embarrassing to anyone else here. And it didn't wind up working out with Ben, but now I think you see the result of that promise coming through, where they go and they bring in Pete Carroll. They go and they get Chip Kelly out of Ohio State at $6 million per year. They give Patrick Graham a raise. He was already making over $3 million, get him closer to $4 million. So now you're talking about nearly $10 million invested per year in your coordinators. And they bring in they start to build out a new front office. And one thing that all of these guys have in common is they all have the respect of Brady. Pete Carroll obviously competed in Super Bowls against Tom Brady. Chip Kelly actually helped the Patriots modernize their offense, and in 2011 and 2012 worked with some of their coaches to incorporate more tempo in what they were doing. Brady, because of that, is well aware of what Chip Kelly is capable of. Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, again, was in New England with Brady. John Spytek, their new general manager, was in Tampa with Brady and built a strong relationship with him based on running their scouting meetings. He ran the scouting meetings for Brady that Brady would do on Tuesdays. It's something that Belichick and Nick Caserio did for Brady in New England. And through the 3 years of doing that, Spytek earned Brady's respect. They are even bringing in a new vice president from Denver, a guy named Mark Thews, who worked with Spytek in Denver. Well, he's got a tie to Brady as well, in that he's one of the high school classmates of Josh McDaniels. That's how he wound up in the NFL to begin with. He joined the Broncos in 2009 when McDaniels was the coach there. McDaniels and Brady are very close, so there's another tie there. I think what you're seeing now is Tom Brady's fingerprints are all over that organization. Does that mean he's going to run it day to day? It does not. My understanding is he's still going to live full-time in Florida because of his family situation. He is going to be there. But make no mistake about it, like, he's going to have an impact on everything they do. He's going to have input on everything they do. And he's going to make sure that place remains aligned. And so Mark Davis is still a very big part of this. Mark Davis is still the principal owner. Mark Davis, I think, deserves credit for finding the right people who could invest resources back into his team, and finding a guy who could change the image of the team in Tom Brady. And so I think the Raiders become one of the more interesting teams in the league, even though they've got one of the worst rosters in the league right now. They become one of the more interesting teams in the league for this offseason. 10 draft picks, over $100 million in cap space, and the lure of those guys, of having Tom Brady involved, of having Pete Carroll as the head coach, of having a new general manager in John Spytek. To me, they're one of the most interesting teams to take a look at when you look at where we're going in the 2025 offseason.